Okay, continuing on. First of all, excuse me, what I want to say is don't skip over this black and white step, because depending on how this goes, I might come back and actually use this as part of our finished painting. So again, do take the time to create this black and white, you know, formed object here. So, but for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to disable the, well, I'm going to actually lock it down. I'm going to lock down this black and white layer just so I don't mess it up. I'm going to disable the eyeball. And I'm going to go to the color layer and get started on color. Now you can sample the colors from this object. Oh, but wait, there's more. Before I go on, notice that this is not a literal interpretation of the pear. There's a lot of diffuse light over here on this photo, but you and I know what a pear is shaped like. So this is exaggerating the the shadows. Okay, I'm aware of that. I'm interpreting the photo. I'm not going for like this photorealistic copy of the reference photo. What I want to do is have a painting of a credible pear. Okay, so are these shadows darker than what's over here? Yes, absolutely. Okay, but this is showing I want to define the form is what I'm doing with all these shadows. So with that in mind, we're going to interpret this pear. We don't have to use the exact colors. So let me turn the eyeball off in my practice black and white again here. Alright, so anyway. Okay, use the same brush, same method that you used for the black and white, but just use color. Now we can use swatches like I have over here. And if you remember in the intro, what I did was, let me tear off the swatches palette just so we can look at it. What I did was I opened up this Pantone Solid Uncoated, and if you don't know, you can go back to the intro video to check that out. And I could choose some colors that I want to use here. Like these yellow greens, some nice dark browns, etc., etc. And by selecting them with the eyedropper tool, I have them available to me up here. I could do that. And let me dock my swatches palette again here. Or you could just simply sample the colors right off the photo. And to do that, you just hit the letter I on the keyboard for eyedropper. And you could sample, what you consider to be the base color of this, which to me is like this dark yellow greenish kind of base. So let me select that, and go over to the color picker, double click, and that's the color I get. And if you don't like that color, and I don't, you can increase the saturation by going up, or pardon me, not the saturation. You can change the hue of this and the brightness by selecting any area in here. So what I did was I just went vertically and I got a nice lighter color. If I want to increase the saturation, I'll go to the right to get something a little bit more interesting. Click OK. So then I'll hit B for brush tool. Get used to using the keyboard shortcuts on this, on Photoshop. B for brush tool. Use my bracket key next to the forward slash. So I'm going to increase my brush up to about 125. Again, I didn't change the opacity. Opacity is the same. Opacity is 25 and flow is 19. And I'll start brushing this in. And as I'm looking at this, to me that color is a little bit too dull. So I'm going to use a combination of sampling from here and using some of these colors over here in my my swatches. So I'm going to choose this what do I want to do here? This isn't a science, folks. There's a lot of there's a lot of art involved, a lot of intuition. So let me try this bright color, this very nice bright Pantone color here. And if I layer over it, now we're cooking with gas here. Now it looks, you might not be able to see it on the screen, but that previous color I used, which is her, got this previous color going on. I could kind of have that as a base, and again, I'm keeping. I want to maintain this highlight here. There's a highlight here, right? There's a lower highlight here. Okay, so I got this kind of like dullish color here, and then I'm going to use this nice bright Pantone color to like overlay on top of it. And this is, when I do paint in pastels, this is kind of how I do it. You know, like this layering of stuff. Okay, so that's kind of the basic pear color. Now, again, just like we did with the black and white, we want to indicate form here. Okay, there's going to be like this banana shape or whatever to indicate the spherical nature of this. There's going to be a spherical shape here, kind of, sort of, you know. So let's use a darker color. So I could use this Pantone color I selected just to make things easier, I guess. Like if you want to select, I might use this Pantone color that I got out of the Swatches palette. But just to show you, hit the eye for eyedropper tool, choose a dark area of your pear, and let's go in there and just check this out to see if it's not too grotesque and ugly. I might make it a little bit darker, maybe, and then click OK, and then B for brush tool. Now I can start to put in this dark here, and what I'm seeing, you got to like use you have to use your intuition, you have to use your aesthetic judgment. What I'm seeing here is this dark I put on top of here. It's like really like muddy looking. So I want something more. Maybe I'll go back to this nice bright color I had and I'm just like clicking over it. And again, if you have a stylus, this might be easier to do. So anyway, use a limited color palette and just a few colors at first. And I can tell that I need a nice a deeper yellow. Now the pear has a lot of red in it, which you can emulate if you want to. It might look a little bit visually confusing to somebody to see pear. When we think pear, we usually think yellow. So, but let's give it a shot here. Eye for eyedropper tool. Hit this. That actually turned out nice. This nice. I might deepen this a little bit and decrease the saturation of it a little bit to make it more natural. B for brush tool, and Lord knows if this is going to work. You know, it might look really stupid and ugly, and actually it's looking pretty nice. Okay, but overall what I'm seeing is okay, but it's, to me, it's looking really dull, you know, and so what I would do is go back to this nice bright yellow I have and maybe increase my brush size and just add some life to this thing. I have not defined the form very well yet, so I have to define this. So I'll probably bounce back and forth. I'll go up here to I'll zoom in on my color palette here. So I'm gonna like probably bounce back and forth between this color, this dark, and maybe this one, and this one. I'll use this red sparingly. So I'm gonna be quiet and I'm gonna go into speed painting mode here. Okay, I'm back from the time warp. So let me kind of explain some stuff. I jumped back and forth between colors, and this is looking pretty good, you know. Every time I do one of these things, they're different. But anyway, the colors I jumped back and forth was this dark brown, uh, this kind of like off. I don't know what the heck it is. You know, this kind of dark yellow and this brighter yellow. I pretty much used this one, and this one, jumping back and forth. And I would use the red sparingly to add some tint just over it. The stem was basically a brownish color with the red, some red overlaid on top of it. And then to kind of get everything together, what I did was I chose this bright green, this Pantone 396, which is, you know, it's extremely bright color, but I'm using like really low opacity. And what I did was I increased my brush size a whole bunch. Let me choose that color again. And I'm not going to paint, because I'm not going to paint over it, but what I did was I just did some really light strokes over, maintaining the highlights, but I did some light strokes in that very bright green to overlay on top of what I've done here. And then I went back in my dark browns, and you know, I can still see there's some areas here that I'm painting right now. So anyway, the stem isn't really well defined yet. I use black very sparingly. Don't go crazy with the black. Just some areas, maybe here, and maybe some areas down here are black. I'm using it right now, but you're better off choosing a very dark color. Even a very dark green would actually work with this, if I could find one, which I can't, so I'm not going to waste your time looking. Anyway, so try to get something. Let me add some more red tint, because I really like how this red is really. And the key thing here is that I'm using this really low opacity brush at what, 25%, and sometimes I even go lower than that. So I can layer these colors on top of each other, and it's starting to look, you know, pretty decent. All right, so your first shot is not going to look great. That's okay. The wonders of digital art, and I'm still painting while I'm talking here, is that you can just delete it and you can do it over again. If you get a place that looks like muddy and yicky, like I got right here, it's like starting to look like just like a big bruise, I'll just grab a brighter color, increase the size of my brush, and just dab some highlights over it. I didn't use any white in this. I just maintained the highlight by not painting over it, but you can use white. And let me, looking at this, you just kind of have to work with this. I'm going to choose like a darker green and kind of like blend everything in that way. And I'm liking how this reflected light is looking with this very, very bright yellow. So I'm going to like kind of emphasize that a little bit, and that was like way too much. Oh, the other thing cool about digital art is you can just Command Z, and I'm Command Zing out of here. And once again, this video has gone longer than I expected, and I'm talking too much. Here, what I did was I got this other shade, or pardon me, hue, this other hue, and I worked in the reflected light that way. And I could mess around with this for all eternity, you know, getting this right. But this, you know, I'm okay with what I got here. Okay. All right, so that's that. So let's, I'll do some detail work and maybe some more stuff on this, and I'll show you that in the next video. And then we got to put in a background as well. All right, see you in the next video.